Welcome everyone. Happy Boxing Day. We are back with another away days, and as you can see, I'm riding a little bit solo tonight. Chris unfortunately couldn't make it, but regardless of the festivities, we keep rolling on. And as Newcastle fans, we know we've got a massive game tomorrow against Manchester United under the lights at St James's Park, and look, we need the points as much as possible. You'll probably be able to see I am donning a few new pieces of gear. Obviously, of course, Christmas was just around the corner yesterday. Rocking the retro or replica shirt, and also one of these bad boys from our fantastic sponsor. So amazing work from Bronwyn. Thank you for sending that over. Nice little surprise that she's been sort of in cahoots with my wife to sort one of these bad boys out for me. But if you haven't already, get involved. These are absolutely top quality gear and much more as well. But we're going to get down to it. As always with an away days, there's no better opportunity to preview a game without talking to the opposition. And of course, making his return, we have Keane joining us from United for All and the weekly Armchair. So welcome in, Keane. How are you doing?
Very good, Dave. How are you today?
Not too bad. Thank you for coming back and joining us again. You are the first return, actually. The first return on an away day, so this is the sort of the turnaround fixture, and it's an absolute pleasure to have you on. And it was also a pleasure to join you guys on Wednesday to discuss your previews as well with Grant. He's a top guy, and it was a really good chat. Check my Twitter handle, Newcastle fans, if you didn't catch that preview. It's a really interesting talk about the game. But we're going to talk Newcastle United against Manchester United here first. And I want to get your thoughts, really, Keane, about Manchester United. Obviously, the last time we talked, there was a massive fanfare because, Cristiano Ronaldo's first game. Obviously, he came back to bite us on the backside, really, because he scored 2 goals in that game in a quite comfortable win in the end. But look, things have changed a lot for Manchester United during that period of time. And to be fair, one of the big changes, really, for your club is the manager. So, just like Newcastle United, with our manager change, Ollie has said his goodbyes. He was relieved of his duties, and now you have in a new manager, a person that Newcastle fans know really well. We were heavily linked with Ralph Ragnick with regards to the director of football's role. So, with that change of sort of manager, how has that changed your view of your club, and has it made a difference so far?
I think if you look at the couple of games that Ralph's been in, you can kind of see briefly what he's trying to do in terms of implementing what type of system he wants. He has us in a 4-2-2 system now, kind of wants us kind of playing the high press. But what we are still seeing, and look, it's going to take a while, is we're still seeing old habits from what the Ollie system was in terms of, not maintaining a press, not maintain the performance over 90 minutes. We haven't done that even still under Ralph yet. So I think there's still a lot of teething problems still there. And look, it's going to take time for Ralph to implement this system. And look, I've been impressed by certain players' performances under him. I think Fred has actually massively improved under him in these last couple of weeks. I remember when I was on the channel a couple of months ago, I was slagging him off. I was saying if there's any way Newcastle can beat us at Old Trafford that time was if Fred starts. Since Rad's come in, Fred's probably been one of our better performers. Jadon Sancho has massively improved under Ralph as well. And look, Ronaldo's still scoring goals and also covering double the distance he did under Ollie. So there is a few positives to make out of it, but still it's early days. Like, I don't want to be saying Ralph's at the wheel or anything like that. We all know what happens when we big up an interim manager at Man United. It ends in tears. So I'm not gonna push it that way so far.
And to be fair to you, there's been a number of high-profile managers you've had over the years, so it would be quite easy to big it up. Lots of, going back to Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, just to name a couple. You've had some real high-profile managers. It hasn't always worked out, so I can understand that sort of caution, but obviously, the last few weeks have been quite difficult for Man United. Obviously, you guys had to close your training complex because of the recent COVID issues. How has that, do you think, impacted on the players and the team? What's sort of been the perspective from fans from your knowledge of the Man United team at the moment?
I think it's definitely going to be a bit of an Achilles heel in these next couple of weeks, because now the fixture list is going to be very congested. And I think for Ralph, time on the training ground has been taken away from him to implement his system, implement his tactics, style of play. And look, we've seen Tottenham last week, have a few weeks off and then play very well against Liverpool. Can that happen for us? I don't know, but I would be very cautious of this because, again, we're not used to being a high pressing team. And if this is what we want to do, being on the training ground, getting a better fitness regime, getting match fitness. We haven't played a game in 2-3 weeks now. If you're going to still want to play this system and try to implement it at the same time, this break can definitely hurt us. And especially if you look at our rivals at the moment, if you talk about Man United's rivals, our biggest rivals are City and Liverpool. Let's get that right, but they're in the ascendancy. If you're looking at our rivals this season, obviously you're looking at the likes of Arsenal, you're looking at Tottenham, Chelsea, teams like that to win around the top four. They're picking up points. So I think for us, these couple of weeks off have kind of hurt us. We're going to have to play catch up, and that all starts tomorrow night. I think we need to put in a good performance. Anytime we go to St. James's Park, it is a tough away game. As of late, we've only picked up a couple of wins though in the last decade. If you look at it, the record is kind of, it's not great. So and that's under the likes of Van Gaal and Jose Mourinho and Ollie. So I think you have to take this game very seriously, and the fact that Eddie Howe is there, there's also a new manager bounce on the opposition side as well. So this break isn't ideal, and then coming into a hostile atmosphere tomorrow night, look, there's no better game to kind of kick on from, but it's going to be a tough one tomorrow.
Yeah, it definitely is, and you're right. I mean, we actually haven't really had really a bounce, so to speak. We haven't had that sort of run of results that you would consider a bounce, but we've certainly noticed a difference in the way that we're playing, and I know for a fact the fans, the players are going to be bang up for this, knowing that you guys haven't played for a few weeks. So it is going to be a real interesting one. Just want to say massive hello to an evening to Jeff, and unfortunately Jeff's suffering from COVID at the moment, but a massive hello to you and everyone else in the chat. We've got Julie, Anno, Paul, all the regulars and more in the chat. Happy Boxing Day to you guys. Hope you're all well, and your support is always massively appreciated. So I'm going to kick on because lots to discuss with regards to Man United. So look, thinking about this season, the results have been okay, but you've had some sort of iffy results, whether it's been in the league, in the Champions League, and there has been a slight sort of dip in form. But regardless of all of that, what is your opinion on how influential this man's been for you, Cristiano Ronaldo? Because obviously there's a massive fanfare with regards to him coming back to the club. He is a very, very special player for Manchester United, and there's a lot of history there with Cristiano Ronaldo. But thinking back to the Champions League games, some league games more recently, how influential has he been in where you are this season in terms of your results and points?
If you look at the Champions League group, just in a nutshell on its own, he scored in every single game. He's Mr. Champions League for a reason. Like he turns up on the biggest stages, he scores goals. Like age is only a number for him. Like I remember a couple of years ago when Zlatan was at Man United, and he said he's like Benjamin Button. Like Zlatan kind of was, but Jesus Christ, Cristiano Ronaldo is that. Like he continuously contributes, and in the league as well, he's scored a couple of important goals, especially in these last couple of weeks. Obviously, his brace against Arsenal, he scored against Norwich. Like he's picking up goals when we need him, and all this nonsense that Jamie Carragher is talking about that he's actually hindering Man United. Well, if you look at the statistics, Jamie, and be a pundit and do your research, man, he's actually the one keeping us alive this season. Like he's the one keeping us going. So, like, look, yes, there is times maybe he can press a bit more, but look, if you have a proper system in place, you can have that one player, who can. Yeah, maybe he mightn't press all the time, but you get players around him, you get the energy around him, so you'll have no problem. Like if you look at the times when Ronaldo was in the team back in 2008, we had players like Ji-Sung Park doing his pressing for him, Tevez, Wayne Rooney. Like if you have a properly coached team and a proper structure and process, and you have a number 9 up front, like a proper number 9, you can make allowances. Like if you even look at Spurs, like Harry Kane, he's not the biggest presser in the world, but he's that presence up front. You've Son and Mora. Like I've no doubt when Rangnick's system gets implemented and he gets his plans in place, Ronaldo will still be a big part of these plans. Like especially like Cavani returning tomorrow. I think if you're talking about a striker in the system pressing alongside him, Cavani can be a massive contributor in that covering space. Greenwood can do it. Rashford, he hasn't his locker. I don't know what's up with him lately, but though we've Sancho, Bruno, we've all these players who can press. Under the previous management, we didn't have a coach. Like if you look at that coaching staff, it was very inexperienced, and we didn't look like we had a system, a structure, a style of play. Now, under this kind of coaching setup, we do have experienced coaches. We have a philosophy. So I think if you talk about Cristiano Ronaldo, he can still have that impact, and I think. Obviously, look, there's a big 6 months coming up. Ronaldo can definitely make an impact. And it's just all about getting the system in place to accommodate him as well. Because, yes, he can score goals and all that, but we need to be pressing from the front, but we also need to be, I suppose, getting the most out of our creative players. In terms of Sancho and Bruno, I think we need to make sure they're in the same team. Maybe if they're in the same team, you look at Rashford, he didn't suit that kind of second striker role in the front too. With Cavani being back tomorrow, put Cavani in the front from the start. You see when him and Ronaldo plays the two against Spurs, how well they worked in terms of Cavani being that first phase of the press, and then Ronaldo being there to finish off the attacks. So I think you have to look at it and say you need the right strike partner up there for him, but you also need the right system that, yes, if he doesn't press at key times, that you do have that Sancho, you have that Bruno. So players who can be there to not only be the creative players for him and supply him the amount of chances he can get, but also be that bit of energy around him. Because, yes, like, look, he's 36, nearly 37. He's not going to be, that young 20-year-old striker who's going to run miles every game. But he's going to be the most clutch striker in world football when you give him that chance. So you do need to accommodate him.
No, I think you're right. And, I think we forget sometimes, he is 36, maybe 37 years old, and he's still churning out the goals and the big moments. People around Europe and around the world call him the most clutch player, and there's a reason being is because when the chips are down, he always seems to turn up and have those magic moments, and he certainly has for you guys. But it's interesting you say that you've not quite clicked yet in terms of what Ralph Rangnick wants. Where would you say are the areas for you in your Manchester United team that you think that Newcastle could exploit tomorrow night, potentially?
I think when you look at the way we're going to play tomorrow night, we're probably going to play 4-2-2. I think our fullbacks, providing there's no COVID issues or anything like that or injuries, Dallo and Telles will be playing. very good offensively, but sometimes defensively they can be a bit suspect. I think obviously St. Maximin can maybe exploit us down the channels. Callum Wilson can maybe exploit us in the channels. With Raphael Varane being back tomorrow, I think that's a massive boost for us. So for me, I'd like to see Harry Maguire be dropped, to be quite honest, with Raphael Varane coming back, because I think Maguire, he has tendencies to make mistakes. He hasn't been the best of form this year. Lindelof's been better than him this season. So providing, the Varane comes back, I think Lindelof and Varane will be our best partnership. But, it's just one of these things that the fact that Harry Maguire is the club captain, does Rangnick early on in his tenure make that decision that on Harry Maguire? Because the fact that he hasn't been the best of form, and it's ever since the European Championship final, though, I don't know if it's a mental thing that he's just not the same Harry Maguire that we seen in the second half of last season and in the Euros for England. So for me, I'd be looking at getting Varane into the team as soon as possible. And if you're looking at tomorrow, with the fact that Newcastle will have the likes of Wilson, St. Maximin, obviously Almiron on the counter attack as well. He played very well against at Old Trafford. Like there's players there who can definitely hurt us. So I think for us, if we're going to play this high press system, we're going to play with the fullbacks. Obviously, if Dalot Tella is bombing on, I think Raphael Varane and Lindelof both have to start because of their recovery pace. Not only because they're very good playing the ball out from the back, but their recovery pace as well. Harry Maguire, won't have that. And I think that's where Varane's that experienced defender. I think he needs to come in Maguire's place.
No, it's a good point, and you've talked about already the likes of Varane and Cavani, and it has said on there that that both Cavani and Varane are back in the squad. They are travelling with the Man United squad, so we are expecting these two players to be travelling with the team. And me for one, I'm a little bit worried about that because Cavani is one of my favourite players to watch. I just think he's infectious, the way he presses, chases. He's just, even when he was at Napoli, going over to PSG, and he's played very, very well. He's a very, very talented striker. And I think he will work really well in that Rangnick press. Hopefully, we don't see that tomorrow, but I think he'll be someone that will flourish. But Varane as well, with his pace, like you said. I think all Newcastle fans, and you guys in the chat as well, if you agree, I think all Newcastle fans are of the same mindset that if we're going to play, when we play tomorrow, that if we're going to play anywhere, it's down the side of Harry Maguire, because we know his recovery pace is not there. We know someone like Callum Wilson can really exploit him. Miguel Almiron, like you said, Alan St-Maximin. To be honest, I would be playing him on the right-hand side because Harry Maguire tends to play the left-sided centre-back because of the way he receives the ball. So I'd be playing him down there to really put that pressure on him. And he is really, for me, and I'm sure others, that is kind of the main target in terms of where we can get in and behind you and maybe cause you guys some problems. With someone like Rafa Varane, he'll be able to keep pace with Callum Wilson, stride for stride. He's a world class centre back that's won the lot. If I was a striker playing at that level, I'd be keeping well out of his way, and be literally hanging on whoever the other centre back is. Hopefully, for our sense, it's Maguire. But Yano's put something in. He's put Maguire is the most overrated footballer in the Premier League. Interesting question there, or interesting.
I would say he's the most overrated. There's one or two that play over on the red side of Merseyside who I'd be questioning in terms of most overrated footballer, and one of them might be coming from the other side of Joe Tyneside as well. So I'm going to leave that to the comments who they think I'm on about there.
Oh, okay. No names. Not going to names.
He's the captain of the red side of Merseyside. I'll leave that up to the comments.
Interesting. So if we know who that is, guys, put it in the chat. I'll just my 2 pence on who based on who I think it is. I think I was inclined to. I'm inclined to agree with you on a number of things there with regards to him being overrated. But that question's been out about Harry Maguire. How do you see him in terms of, he's the captain of your club, he's the club captain, but how do you see him in terms of, his influence in the team? Does he have an influence in the team, or are you not really seeing that from a Man United point of view?
Last season, it's weird because last season he's really grown into that kind of leader role. Like you've seen, he had an influence on our back four last year, and he was quite good. And you can see he grew into that in the England setup during the summer. But I think since the stars have come in, like Varane, Ronaldo, obviously Bruno's been growing into the role, Cavani, like. I think if you look at Maguire, I think the captaincy has been too big of a job. And like for me, I said last season he shouldn't be captain. Like after the whole Greece incident and how his form really curtailed around then, for me, I don't think he should Manchester United captain. Like he should be a player for our football club. Like on his day, Harry Maguire he's a good footballer, but he's not probably the standard to be even a starting centre back for Man United. He's squad player, 100% squad player. But if you're looking at Manchester United centre backs in terms of what we've had, the standard we've had, Maguire, like £80 million, Leicester pulled their pants down, like for that, like they literally did, So for me, he shouldn't be Manchester United captain. And in the summer, I would be looking at getting a top class centre back in. So look, for me, he's probably a squad player at best for us. If you look at the current way we want to go forward, I don't think he should be starting for us going forward next season if we do get a new centre back in. But you can definitely contribute because there's games where look he's a threat from set pieces, and there's games that'll suit him. But if we were talking about playing against the top teams in Europe and in the Premier League, especially against the top six, Harry Maguire, like he gets exploited. Like I've been at Old Trafford quite a few times this season. Man City to name one, Atalanta the other game as well. Like just name out two games Harry Maguire got absolutely torn to pieces in. Maguire against the top teams he gets found out.
Yeah.
So, like for me, it's just one of these things where if you look at United's probably best centre backs in the Premier League era, you look at Rio and Vidic, like they're our best centre back pairing ever. And you need your two centre backs to complement each other. We have Varane. We have that kind of Rio Ferdinand-esque centre half in Varane. A player who has pace, who can play the ball out from the back. We need someone who can be a good tackler, know where to be, have good recovery pace. Maguire doesn't have that, and I think that's where United maybe need to address this in the summer and look at a centre back, who has pace, power, and leadership skills. Because leadership skills is something Maguire hasn't showed this season. Like you look at when we got defeated by Liverpool 5-0 at home against our biggest rivals, he came out and says, "I don't really want to be doing this interview, but I have to." Yeah. And it was his whole demeanor then really showed me that he didn't step up and be a captain and come out and say like, "Look, this is our fault. Like this is our biggest rivals." Like, look, Ollie was massively at fault for a lot of things that happened in the first half of this season and where we are on the table. But a lot of these players didn't step up either. Maguire definitely being one of them. And for me, I'd be saying like, Harry needs to take a look at himself and maybe adapt his game. I don't know, but for me, going forward as a Man United centre back, especially if we want to be challenging for leagues again, Harry Maguire shouldn't be starting in that back four.
No, it's a fantastic point, and I think I think you're right. Ultimately, I mean, you paid a lot of money for him, and I think with the fact that you paid such a big fee, gave him the kind of the instant impact that he would have some sort of leadership in the team, and he did. He did have a good season a couple of years ago, where he was single-handedly probably one of the main reasons why you're picking up clean sheets. But I think what you find now is that people have kind of found him out, and I think if you look at the two games, Liverpool and Man City, when they came to Old Trafford, the way in which they targeted the likes of Harry Maguire and targeted his pace, you can tell that like you said, Keane, at the top level, he's just not quite there, and I don't think he'll ever will be. And I think you're right. It's going out there and buying a new centre back is probably something of a priority for Man United in the summer. But lots of questions in the chat. We'll start with Jeff. He said Henderson. I assume, is he correct?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Absolutely.
Most overrated player in the Premier League from Keane. Do we agree with that? He is a Mackham, so I'm inclined to agree with that. He's had some influence in the team, but
if you're talking on pure football ability, like a leader, yes, like he's a great captain, like he's a great talker on the pitch. But if you're talking just football and the ability in terms of overrated footballer, Jordan Henderson has to be there, like 100%.
It wasn't that long ago that people were saying that John Joe Shelby had more ability than Jordan Henderson. So yeah, I think that would definitely be an interesting one for sure. Massive thanks to Dunhill. You are a new member that's joined the team. Thank you very much for your support. It's always appreciated when someone becomes a member and helps out the channel. We all massively appreciate it, and yeah, absolutely spot on. Thank you for that. As always, still an opportunity to become a member. Hit the subscribe, hit the likes, give the show that little bit of exposure, because we are going to be churning out this content over the Christmas period. So much more to come, and we'll continue to discuss. A few questions in the chat. We'll get to a few of the questions. We've got Geordie Tune for Life. He said, if Rangnick goes upstairs at the end of the season and a new manager comes in, will the system have to change if it's a big name manager, say someone like Posh? Interesting question, that. Good question, Geordie Tune for Life.
I think if you look at the high price system, high energy system that we're implementing right now, like I think if you look at managers in world football outside of the realms of Pep and Klopp, which we both know are not coming next season, they're not coming ever because they're Man City Liverpool manager. Yeah. You have to look at maybe Eric Ten Hag and Maurizio Pochettino would be the two most likely suitors outside the Rangnick bubble, because obviously Rangnick worked with Ten Hag before. So I think if you look at that has its elements. The one thing though, Pochettino doesn't like working with a director of football. So I don't know if Pochettino comes, how that Ten Hag consultancy role will work if Pochettino comes in, because obviously at Tottenham Hotspur, he said he didn't like working at director of football. He's at PSG. He's not getting along with Leonardo either. So I think you have to look at it and say, if Pochettino comes in, like if Rad's in that consultancy role, and what is that consultancy role? Is that recruitment? Is that what's happening in training pitch? Is that consulting with the academy? Like, how much control does Rangnick have after this? That's something we don't know yet, because obviously, look, he's still here in terms of the interim manager. And like, look, as I said earlier on the show, the fact that you look at what happened to us the last time we had an interim manager in a good run of form, we pulled the trigger on that interim manager. We gave him the job when Pochettino was actually mooted for it at the end of the season. So I think to be answered that question, I think if it is a new manager coming in at the end of the season, it'll have to be either one of Poch or maybe Eric Ten Hag, footballing wise, in terms of keeping that kind of type of system in place. But look, there's other managers out there who are linked to it, like Luis Enrique. Can he come in and maybe implement that? That would be a very interesting situation if he came in. Or look, if Rangnick does well this year, who knows? Who knows? Does he stay on? I'm not going to say Ralph's at the wheel though, guys, because look, I said all these at the wheel. I rubbed my hands like Rio did, and look what happened. Look what happened.
I tell you what, I don't think they'll ever be forgotten. Firstly, the Rio Ferdinand little moment in the studio where he's rubbing his hands again. Contract on the table, give him what he wants. I don't think he'll ever live that down, and that video certainly does the round.
Did you not see when after he beat Villarreal in the Champions League, Michael Carrick was interim manager, and he rubbed his hand and he was like, I'm not going to say it. He said, I'm not going to say it. He knows.
He knows. But yeah, I think he gets a little bit carried away in his thoughts after a couple of decent results. I don't think he thinks too far long term, which is probably why he's not involved deeper in any type of professional football. If I'm honest with you, I think he just needs to stay as a pundit on BT Sport for now. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one because Rio Ferdinand is a very, very talented manager, and if he can implement his style, it will ask certain questions at the end of the season. But equally, like you've said, there's some fantastic managers out there that might well be available in the summer, so it'll be really, really interesting to go through from that point of view. So just go through a couple of more questions before we move on to the next section. He's got, give that cheap ref a hard time, I hope. We're going to get onto that section in a minute because we're going to talk about the ref that's going to be reffing our game tomorrow night. I think all Newcastle fans are very, very frustrated, and rightly so. Not just about the ref for tomorrow, but about the refs in general. So we will talk about that in a second, Lisa. Hold on to that one. Jeff's got another question, serious question. Which club will win the next title? Man United or Newcastle? Now, that is a fantastic question, Jeff, I have to say. And obviously, we are now a very rich club, shall we say, since the last time that we spoke. And yes, we're very early into that process, but providing that we stay in the league this season, that process could really sort of gather pace going into the summer and then into the next season. So, interesting question, Keane, for you to answer. I'll let you go.
Yeah, do you know what? It's just on the back of what you said. I think if Newcastle went down this year, I'd say United, because I think they'll take Newcastle another couple of years to kind of go through the rebuilding process and stuff like that. But if he stay up, depending on what you do upstairs in terms of recruitment policy, in terms of getting the right people in to make sure that you're recruiting well, you have the right management set up there, and you have the right profile up there and a style of play in place, could be Man City 2.0. It literally could be. I think it's just a case of you don't want it to be another Everton, in terms of having a load of money, spend on the wrong players and then getting hit by financial fair play. But I think Newcastle, they're a big club, and if they stay up, and you can sell players the history of the club, you can sell them the project that's there. Maybe it's the league in about 5-6 year period. Is that a massive target? Because I think for Newcastle, I think with especially this takeover, for them this year is just very important about staying up. Just at all costs, it doesn't matter how you do it, to stay up. And then this summer, then you just go absolute balls to the wall in terms of recruitment. There's still a lot of players you'd want to get out of there, but there'd be a lot of players who would want to come because it's a project. I think you have the stadium there, you have the massive fan base. It's just a case that staying up this season is just massively important, but then also just get the people on at board level right in terms of the football inside of things, and it'd be great. But to answer your question, I can't really, because it just depends if he stay up. If he stay up, I say you, because I think we're finding it hard at the minute to, there's still a lot of players we have to get out of the football club, and I think there's another rebuild coming after the fact that Ollie's already after doing one. I think there's a massive rebuild need to happen. I think for us, it's going to be a while before we can maybe take Liverpool and City down off the top of the table, because they seem to be running away with it at the moment. But the fact Newcastle have the richest owners in the league, that's why I think it's a bit more feasible, in terms of that, because if they stay up, they can offer more wages, even higher wages than Liverpool, City and Man United. Do you know what I mean? And Chelsea, Newcastle could literally blow all of us out of the water, if they stay up, in terms of what they can offer players, in terms of wages, in terms of project and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see. But hopefully, respectively, I hope it's us. But I'm not in fear yet, because it just depends on what happens this year. But come the summer, and if you stay up, I guarantee there'll be players from Man United are linked to it, and then all of a sudden it'd be like 2008 all over again, where we're linked with Berbatov, but all of a sudden City come in at the 11th hour, but then Fergie had to go and kidnap him to bring him to Man United. So we might have to do that again, to bring Haaland to the club or something in the summer. So look, we'll see what happens.
No, I remember those days very, very clearly. But yeah, no, I think you're right. I think the problem with Man United is that you've had so many different rebuilds that you've needed to do with every manager that's come in, right the way back to David Moyes, Louis van Gaal, various other managers who've always had to do rebuilds because they've all had different styles and different quality and types of players that you've then had to then completely churn out to be able to build your next identity. And I think that's been your biggest problem. I think for us, we've got 14 years of a mentality that we're trying to shift. And more importantly, a 5-year stint of a playing squad that have gone stale, that we need to move on. And we can see that on the pitch. You know, we've conceded the most goals in the Premier League. The reason being is those defenders that we've got either are not fit for purpose or are just not good enough for Premier League level. And it's as simple as that. And you know, we haven't got on the back of Eddie Howe because it's not Eddie Howe's fault. He is trying to coach these players to play a certain way as best as he possibly can. And I think for all of us Newcastle fans, it's very, very clear that we need new defenders to come into this club, a better, significantly better quality of defender. So the transfer window is going to be key to us. And I think, you know, if you look around the bottom of the league, you know, our goal scoring is not too bad. It could be better, but it's not too bad. But the goals that we've conceded are the worst in the league. I think there's only Norwich after a hammering today are still in front of us in terms of conceded least by maybe 1 or 2. And that tells its own story. I think if we were to get defenders in to shut up shop and be more a solidified unit, I think we would go on and win more games in the second half of the season and stay in the Premier League. So that's the key for us. And I think once we've done that one big rebuild with Eddie Howe to churn out all that old stale group of players and bring in fresh emphasis to the team, I think you'll see us really fly up the table. Because you can see the likes of Aston Villa, you can see the likes of, you know, West Ham and Brighton at the start of the season, and Wolves, for example. It doesn't take a lot to be able to break into the top half of the table. Just a few decent runs of results. Like Wolves were in the top 8 at one point a week or so ago. And nobody would have talked about Wolves, but we have the capacity to not only be a Wolves, but have a seriously quality, strong squad of players that could really build and kick on. You've seen Leicester drop off the pace recently, you know, so we've got a real opportunity to kick on, and once we get rid of a number of these players in this squad. So yeah, it's an interesting one, but there are some moving factors to that. But Jeff, as always, a fantastic question that you brought in. Yes, Chris H is the busiest. It's the busiest time of the year for him. Avon in the day, Robert Knight. I didn't say that last part. Yeah, no, I'm not taking responsibility for that. But yeah, definitely out on his Avon duties, no doubt about that. But no doubt, Chris will be back very, very shortly. Other questions in here? Forgot how slow Daz's connection is. Happy Easter. Brilliant. If anyone watched the Fully Loaded Transfer Show with me, Daz, and Jordan Cronin on Thursday, it's a fantastic show. Watch it back if you've not seen it. More to come from us this week. We're building on a whole new group of players that we're going to be talking about. And Daz's internet was on and off. He was playing hide and seek with us a little bit over the course of the show. So yeah, it's funny. It's funny just for that part, let alone the transfer talk. And Jordan Tiflife saying is going for United to win 2-1, but I think he means the other United. Newcastle United. I'm touching the wrong badge there, but yeah, I think he's going for his Jordan Team for life. Right. Another one from Jeff. What is Man United fans' ambition? Okay, is it European football, or is it, you know, challenging for the Premier League? What is your ambition right now?
If you talk right now this season, I think between now and the end of June, you're looking at just getting to the top 4. I think a trophy is massively important. So whether that's the FA Cup or Champions League, we need to win one of them this season. Well, I said at the start of the season when Ollie was manager, I think still the team we have, we still should win at least one of them trophies. Obviously, look, Atletico Madrid is a tough draw, but if you look, as I said, knockout football is just, it's different than when you have Cristiano Ronaldo in the Champions League. Anything is possible. So, look, one of them trophies. And look, I think my ambition this year is just overall improvement. In 2022, I think improvement's massive. I think I want to see better football. I want to see a couple more players like Mason Greenwood to get a chance. I think players like that, who have the quality and just need to kind of show it on a larger stage.
George, if Lads just said that there. Sorry, Keane. I'd be more concerned tomorrow if Greenwood starts. He's a hell of a finisher. For me, he's one of the best finishers, not just in the Premier League, but in Europe. The guy is an absolute clinical finisher. So yeah, I just wanted to raise that point in there, Keane. Sorry for interrupting there.
Yeah, look, I agree with that comment. I think all he said, at the time, so when he was at the football club, he said Mason was the best finisher at the football club. Now, that was before Cristiano came in, of course. I think there'd be a debate. I'd love to see them two in a shooting drill, because I'd say it'd be absolute mayhem. But, look, he's a hell of a finisher. He's a sharpshooter, and he's adding to his game as well, in terms of his link-up play, in terms of his positioning. He's not just this kind of poacher. He's adding to his game. And I think, look, going through your education at Man United, when you have Cavani and Ronaldo to learn off, there's no two better strikers. If you want to talk about movement, Cavani's that movement guy, and you have Ronaldo as the finisher. There's no better two players to be educated off at the age of 19, 20. So, Greenwood has a long way to go, and I think he is someone who's going to be the future of Manchester United, going forward. And look, I want to see Bruno Fernandes just really kick on in 2022, because he's had a great 2021. Obviously this season he's not so much scoring goals, but he's helped create goals. If you look at his numbers in terms of creating chances, assists, we're seeing a different side to Bruno's game this season, where there's, I don't know if you see a lot of Man United Twitter people, but a lot of Man United Twitter, and there's a certain section of Man United fans that don't rate him. I'm going to call it how I see it. It's because they're Paul Pogba fans, and I don't know what this fascination is, and liking one player and liking another player. They both play for your same club. Support both of them, but it's one of these things where I see Bruno. I think if there's a player who I'd like to see really show their quality this season, it's Bruno. Because I think, look, he's been a revelation since he's come into Manchester United. And for me, I know Ronaldo has come into the club and he's been brilliant this season. But if you're talking about the best signing post Sir Alex Ferguson, I think without doubt it's Bruno Fernandes, 100%.
Nah, I've got to agree. I'm genuinely shocked that there's a section of your fans that don't rate Bruno Fernandes. That genuinely shocks me, because he's a super talented player. And he might not be pulling out the numbers that he did last season and the season before. But I think for the first time, Bruno Fernandes is suffering from burnout. And I think I said this on our last show about Bruno Fernandes, in terms of he's played so much football in a short period of time. He signed for you guys, then there was a lockdown, then there was the restart, then he played the new season.
Euros as well,
and then the Euros, and then back into this new season. He needs a break. He's barely had an injury, but he's played so much football, and with the intensity that he plays at, sometimes you just need a rest. Sometimes an injury can actually be a blessing, because it allows your body just to rest from being that intense. But he's avoided injuries and just playing constantly. But it's a really, really interesting one. That surprises me. But look, I hope he doesn't play tomorrow, because he scored a fantastic goal last season at St James's Park, where I thought we were going to go on and get something, and get a point from you guys. He comes up with an absolute stunner in the top corner.
The play leading up to that goal is probably one of our goals this season as well. Last season, I know there was a lot of bangers, but last season, but if you look at the overall play, the link between Juan Mata, Donny van de Beek, and Bruno and Rashford, and then Bruno puts in the top bin past the bracket, that was top class.
It was a great goal. It was a hard watch, I've got to be honest, seeing that goal go in. But look, a topic now kind of for both of us to discuss from both sides of the coin, really. And for us Newcastle fans, this has been an interesting. We've talked about this on another show, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more. But what is the situation with regards to these two players? So we've got Anthony Martial, and we've also got Jesse Lingard. Now, both of these players have been linked with Newcastle United. So obviously with the array of players and the talented players that have been linked with Newcastle since the takeover, it's been crazy. Like you could run out a scroll for like half an hour with the amount of players that have been linked with this. But these two, in more recent weeks, Martial, but certainly Jesse Lingard for a period of time now. What are your thoughts as Man United fans with regard to their situations, and do you think they will leave in January? And if so, in the Man United circle on social media, who are the teams that they're likely to go to if they are going to leave?
Look, when you look at the situation, Martial, I think Newcastle have been one of the teams who are predominantly linked since their takeovers happened. He's heavily linked with Sevilla at the moment. There's a lot of talk that Sevilla are in for a loan deal in January. That's a massive talk. Barcelona are linked with Martial. There's a lot of teams who are being linked in terms of paper talk, but I think Newcastle, if you want to stay in England, would be a realistic destination. In terms of that, like obviously you've Alan St. Maximin who does play off the left. Callum Wilson is your striker. If you really want to make a fluid front three, you can go Callum Wilson up front, Martial off the left, St. Maximin off the right. That would be a dangerous front three. Then if you sign Jesse behind them, in the 10, that's a very good front four. If you look at it that way, if you get two good DMs behind them, like that would be solid. But if you're talking about Martial's perspective in terms of who they've been linked with, like he's been linked with kind of a few clubs in Europe. It's kind of unfortunate for him lately because I think there's been stages where his Man United career has been very stop-start in terms of runs of form. He's been kind of a purple patch player, and I think if you look again, with no disrespect him because he's been good at times for Man United. He's scored big goals, but if you're looking at the quality of forward we have at the football club at the moment in terms of Greenwood, Ronaldo, Cavani, and Rashford, and even some of the other players who are in and around them positions, Martial does not cut the mustard at the moment. So I think, for me, it's his time at the club is probably up, and look, he'd probably do well elsewhere, especially if he goes abroad to like Ligue 1 or La Liga, like in less physically demanding league. I have no doubt he'll bang in the goals. It's just, I think the English Premier League top 6 at the moment level probably isn't where he's at. In terms of Jesse, I think, look, if you look at Jesse Lingard, when he went to West Ham last year, we all seen how good he was in terms of when he had that free-flowing attack and role, and how good of a Premier League player he can be. I think for him, unfortunately, his kind of, and Donny van de Beek has been a massive kind of victim of this as well. I've seen the comments just on about Donny's playing time. And I think Jesse Lingard and Donny van de Beek are both a victim of this. They're both number 10s, predominantly attacking midfield players. And when you have two players of like Bruno and Paul Pogba in front of you, you're going to have to find it very hard to get them at the game time you are to be happy. I think especially with Donny in his situation, Bruno being in front of you, it's not going to help. So I think for Jesse, for his own good in his England career, I think he should maybe go to Newcastle. I think Newcastle is probably the most sensible move for him. Obviously, look, West Ham is there. West Ham will always be there, I think, because of his run of form. Obviously, Everton are looking for an attacking midfielder as well. So, maybe West Ham, Everton, Newcastle, I think they're the three teams who I think will be in for him. And it'll just be a case of who probably coughs up the more money. We all know that answer. It'll be Newcastle without doubt. But I think that'd be a great move for Jesse Lingard. And again, I know you have Joe Willock who kind of plays that kind of attacking midfield, those sort of roles. So maybe Jesse's that bit more experienced. And if you're talking about in front of goal, he's very good and he's very high energy. He's very hard working. And look, I think Newcastle, if you're looking at staying up this year, I think Jesse Lingard will be that type of player who can give you that, So I think Jesse Lingard for Newcastle will be a fantastic signing. And he's one of my personal favourite players for United. It's just, but you look at the quality ahead of him, like Donny, Bruno, Pogba coming back, Sancho, he's not going to get enough game time to get into the World Cup in the 2022 World Cup. Whereas if he goes to Newcastle, helps keep him up, and then following up next season, Lord knows. So I think Lingard probably going to Newcastle probably makes the most sense at the moment.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I hope so. I would really like Jesse Lingard. I think the way in which he turned around West Ham season last year, this time last year, that would be exactly what we need in terms of the propellers up the table and keep us in the Premier League, which is our only target right now. Martial is a little bit of a different one. There's a few in the chat that would say, so Gary was very, kind of open with his opinions, wouldn't touch it with a barge pole. There's one or two others that have said, Jeff's said on here, Martial would suit Europe.
Yeah.
Lingard was smarting up our squad, and I'm inclined to agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Martial, there was a conversation the other day with a couple of fans, and I really agree with this point in that, if you're in a relegation fight and you need workers, you need someone that's going to put the effort in and going to kind of dig in with the team and grind out results. And I've never really seen that from Martial. Even in games where you really need, you're winning. It might be a top level game against Man City or Liverpool or whatever. You need to dig in for 10 minutes and really run off the ball and track back and work hard. I never really see that intensity in Martial's game to do the other side of the work. And I think sometimes it can let the team down. I believe, although he's extremely talented as a player, I just don't see him suiting our predicament right now if he came in. No. So it doesn't surprise me that I think the links from Newcastle quickly shifted to the likes of Sevilla and one or two other teams in Europe.
And Sevilla seems to be his most preferred destination. I wonder, is he looking at the fact they're been demoted to the Europa League and they win it every fucking time they're in it? So, is the case he's looking at that and saying, look, there's a chance for a trophy, and look, Sevilla are a decent team as well, in terms of La Liga. So maybe he's looking at thinking, I'll shine in that league, in terms of that. I'll shine in Europa League. Gives me a chance to get into the France squad for the World Cup. Because if he stays at United, there's not a hope in hell he's getting into that French team. No way.
No, I agree. I think he's going to really struggle at the moment, and there are a number of French players that are really starting to turn it on at the moment in those attacking areas, which is going to push him down the pecking order even more. But Sevilla second in La Liga at the moment, having a really good season, and as you've said, they're in the Europa League, so they're going to be a team that are going to be certainly challenging in the latter stages. And it's a chance for him to win a trophy. And if you win a trophy and you stick that up to the French manager and say, this is what I've won, it's going to give him a great chance of getting into that squad. So yeah, I'd probably stay away from Martial. Just a quick one. Do you think Donny will leave in January? That seems to have dampened a little bit. It was kind of odds on.
Yeah, with the fact Ollie's gone, he'll stay. He'll stay because Rangnick has outlined that Donny is part of his plans. I know Ollie's always said that Donny's part of his plans, but look, the fact he's using Donny in two different positions since he's come in, I think Donny will get plenty of game time. And the fact that Jesse's leaving, I don't imagine Donny would leave, because if you look at that, AFCON coming up, Hannibal's going out to AFCON as well, our young player from the 23s, and there was talk of him getting called up. He would have been probably that replacement for Lingard if he leaves. There's talk of that happening. So if that happens, I don't see Donny van de Beek leaving this transfer window anyway. Now, not unless if Pogba stays in the summer, does Donny leave then? Maybe. But there's a slim chance of Pogba staying. I think there's a lot of talk around the United section that it's more or less done that he's gone, in that regard. So I don't think Donny leaves this season, but maybe keep an eye on Donny van de Beek to Newcastle in the summer. I think that's going to be a link that we're all going to see, I'd say.
No, that's a fair point, and I really hope that if he doesn't come to us, I really hope that he does well at Man United, because he's a really talented player. I remember watching him at Ajax and he was just tearing it up in that Champions League season. That their journey was fantastic, and I think he's kind of lost his way, but I hope that Rangnick brings out the best in him if he's not going to move on to another team, definitely. Daz, the main man, Loaded Daz, he says it's now fixed, his internet, so we will see in the shows to come. And there are a number, and including match day live tomorrow for the game. So we are going to be doing a match day live. So that'll be kicking off from 7:30. So tune in. Lots of promotion coming out after this show this evening and throughout tomorrow. So get involved in the match day live, the Loaded match day live, the first of many. We are going to be kicking that off tomorrow from 7:30. Yes, you'll have to took a pound in for your internet or lack of internet, Daz. Do not worry about that. And thank you very much. Yeah, repping our sponsors, hat and the new clobber. There'll be a few more of those things coming out over the weeks to come. Don't worry about that. But I'm going to move on now to Newcastle before we get into the predictions and wrapping up the show. Now, I want to get your thoughts on this. So we played Man City last Sunday, and we were 2-0 down at the time, not long before half-time. And this tackle off the ball by Edison on Ryan Fraser wasn't even given as a penalty. In our opinions, we were up in arms about this as Newcastle fans. It was a stone wall penalty and it wasn't given. And I think we're all still really shocked about this now. And we had on our show on Tuesday talking about this, and he, ex-Premier League referee, and he agreed wholeheartedly that it was a poor decision. What did you see this, Keane? Did you watch this game, and what were your thoughts on this when it kind of came about?
When I seen the game, I thought it was stone wall. To be brutally honest, I'm not saying that now because it's the other lot across the road, but like it was like Joe Edison did clean him out, and again, like you have the technology there in terms of you have the benefit of replay and you have benefit from all different angles. So I don't understand, how you can't see that's not a penalty. Now, I know how VAR cannot see that's not clear and obvious. I don't know, because VAR is there to say that this is a clear and obvious error. The goalkeeper is absolutely cleared the striker out. He's fouled him in the box. That's a penalty. It just mystifies me, some of the inconsistency of some of these decisions. And now, look, I'm saying this now. It's Man United. We probably get a dodgy penalty tomorrow, and I'll come on here next week and I'll be like, "Oh, that was a stonewall penalty," But like, look, if we be fair, I think the referees and their use of VAR and their own decision making in this last 24 months has been nothing short of mystifying. I think you look at some of the decisions they've made. You look at the way they've really, used this technology. They haven't used it to their benefit. So it's just a disgrace. And like, look, again, like, let's say for all harm's sake, right, we go back and let's say Newcastle, go down by a point this season, right? Let's say that happens. Let's say that they go down by a point or goal difference, right? And let's say they go down by a goal. 1 goal is the difference in goal difference for Newcastle. And you look back at this game, you look back at the stonewall penalty that could have been and should have been given. That could be difference for hundreds of millions of pounds for Newcastle as a club. Or if you looked at City the other way, they win the goal, they beat Liverpool, even though they'll say City beat Liverpool on goal difference, for the league title. Now you'll have all the Liverpool fans and the whole community will be on social media looking for a replay of the game. But like, either way, like that penalty decision could have so many implications for the season that we don't even know yet. Yeah. So like the fact you have all that technology and the fact you're meant to be the best league in the world, show it, like, and it's just the use of the referees and VAR in this last while. It's just been an absolute disgrace.
Look, you'd have to tell us, Keane, as Newcastle fans, that 100% agree with you. In these last 2 weeks, some of these refereeing decisions, and we can go through the whole season, but certainly the last three weeks has been an absolute disgrace from a Newcastle point of view. And some of us Newcastle fans are convinced that they're trying to relegate us because we've got all this money in the Premier League. Clubs are not particularly keen on us, or should I say, keen on our own new owners being in the Premier League, because it worries them about where their position in the league is moving forward. But there's a few here. So Gary said in the Sky Studio today, Alan McAnally was the only one who said it wasn't a penalty. Shock. He's only saying that for effect because nobody really cares about him, in my opinion. So he's only saying it for a reaction. But the other 4 said it was. I think that's the biggest shock of it all, in that he had 4 people in the Sky Studio that actually thought it was a penalty, because they are very, very negative when it comes to Newcastle United, and they like to stick the boot in when they have any opportunity. So I'm surprised they actually agree with us, which is why I don't really watch watch Sky Sports, and Gary has put that, which I'm not going to repeat, but I certainly agree with 110%. Daz has said, nailed on, Keane. You're going to get a penalty tomorrow, CR7. I actually think it's an interesting point, and I'll come back to that in a second. There's definitely a conspiracy against Newcastle. Didn't care what anyone else says, and you know, I agree with Gary on that. And yeah, Jordy Toon for Life says, don't even mention the head injuries. The head injuries is another thing. The one at Liverpool, Hayden was down for a good 10 seconds. Mike Dean looks directly at him with nobody in the way, knows he's holding his head, but says when he's questioned on it that he was holding his back, it was just full of absolute lies. And yeah, Mike Dean refs Liverpool. That should never happen, as we've already documented on our YouTube channel. Mike Dean's children both have season tickets at Liverpool. So there is a vested interest in him supporting Liverpool in any way, shape, or form, because his family are linked to the club, which begs the question: why was he even repping the game? Not even the fact that he's a Tranmere fan and he lives on the Wirral, but we won't get into that. That's another crazy one. But look. It's a really interesting one, and the reason why it's interesting is because, you know, this man Craig Pawson was the referee that was involved in the VAR incident during the Manchester United game. He was the one that looked at the VAR footage and still didn't think that this situation was a penalty, which is an absolute disgrace. And what's even more of a disgrace is that this is the ref that refs our game tomorrow. So not only has he been in effect had a huge involvement in a penalty that should have been given to us, he's now reffing our game tomorrow at St James's Park. So I think he's going to get absolute pelters from the home end. And although Daz thinks that you might get a penalty, I think it might go the other way, because I've got a feeling that they're going to try and rectify their mistake by maybe giving us something, or I'm maybe just living in a little bit of hope there. We'll see.
Yeah, they might try even the odds, or you know, Pawson could become another Howard Webb. We don't know. We'll wait and see.
Very true. Very true. Maybe our Howard Webb as we go through the Premier League years in the years to come. So look, just finally, before we move on to sort of stats and predictions, who are the key players for you that you think you've got to worry about from a Newcastle point of view tomorrow night?
I think for us, you look at the strikers. I think Callum Wilson, especially in the channels, I think he's someone who can definitely threaten us. I think St. Maximum, like, look, he mightn't be in the best of form as of late, but though he's quality, like he's very direct, he's very skillful. Like, our fullbacks, they could be on toast against him. Like, there's no doubt about that could happen. Look, I think if you look at I think you look at it as well. Almira on the counter attack, he did hurt us. You know, I think set pieces is Fabian Schär going to play tomorrow. Like, he's someone who I think he can maybe threaten us some set pieces tomorrow. Being Irish, he scored a couple of goals for us, for his country. So I'm very well aware of his set piece threats. So
yeah,
like for me, I think there's a couple of threats in Newcastle that we do have to be aware of. But I think for us, well, we do just have to play our own game, because I think a lot under the previous management, we worried too much about the opposition. You know, I think for us, yes, there is little grey areas, you know, that we know what our problems are. But I think for us, as Ralph did quite rightly say, let's take control of the game. Let's not leave you have these, have these moments in the game where you can hit us in the channel. You can get set pieces, you can rough us up. Do you know what I mean? When there has been times where Callum Wilson can he can use his body very well, in terms of that. In terms of spinning on the kind of half turn, there is players who can threaten us, and I think for us it's just very important that we play our own game tomorrow and not get caught up in these physical battles, because that's where Newcastle thrive, and I think especially St. Maximum as well, like John Joe Shelby's there, he's always up for a Man United game as well, there is players there who are always up for it when they play against us, and everyone turns into prime Barcelona when they play Man United. I don't know what it is, I don't know what the magic is, but everyone turns into prime Barcelona when they play us. So look, let's hope it's just a good game tomorrow. I think we just need to be on our game and we need to try to take control, because obviously Newcastle played a bit more football than us quite lately. And look, it's just very important that, we try to make a stamp in the game and score early, because it's going to be a ruckus atmosphere tomorrow. It's going to be buzzing. Obviously, it's a game just after Christmas, and obviously Man United are coming to town. Every fan base, like I see every time we go away, like our away fans are brilliant, but with every home ground is just buzzing. They always try really make it tough for us. So, man, I'm just excited to see a bit of Man United football. I haven't seen it in 3 weeks. It's been so long. Everyone else has been playing, and it's just, it's bad. But can't wait for tomorrow anyway.
No, I agree, and we're at that point where we've played through this period. We're lucky we've not been caught with COVID. Fingers crossed that continues. But we've played through this period, so there should be a little bit of a freshness about us, and it should be a little bit more energetic. And certainly going into the latter parts of the game, I would expect us, not necessarily quality-wise, but certainly fitness-wise, to be able to go the distance, whereas you guys might tire because you've not played for as long or for a long period of time. But yeah, I think you mentioned some points. I mean, I'll just quickly go through that. I just think, Wilson is going to be the main man in terms of goals, but Joe Linton's been really putting himself about recently and really causing some problems in that midfield. I think since Eddie Howe's come in, he's probably been our best player every game this season, and I think he's really coming into his own. One of the guys in the chat mentioned about this man, Ryan Fraser. Jordan Team for Life says, I hope that Fraser plays. Fraser, his ability to press high up the pitch has been causing problems. We've already talked about, the incident at Liverpool where Trent Alexander-Arnold took him out and really should have been a penalty in my opinion. And then the incident at Man City, that's because of his high press, because he puts players under the pressure, under the cosh, high up the pitch. And I think if he continues that, I think he could get some joy. You've mentioned Miggy as well, using that pace in and behind. That's definitely going to be an option. Shelby was rested against Man City, and I think he had a slight knock, but we're hoping that he'll be back because he is a big player. And Shaw definitely was rested, so he should be back in the team. So we're looking at some players that will be coming back. But it's interesting you mentioned Alan St-Maximin, because he hasn't played well since Eddie Howe's come in. And the structure which Eddie Howe wants him to play, and I think he's really struggling to kind of get himself set into that structure and still be able to play the flamboyant football that we want him to see. But when a team, like you said, like Manchester United come to town, it's the perfect foil for him to really turn it on at St James's Park. So we're hoping that tomorrow could be the sort of catalyst for him putting in a really, really good performance. So let's wait and see. Fingers crossed that that's the case. But at this point now, I'm just going to run through just a few stats with you before I get your predictions, Keane. Normally we would get Keith Rowland, who's our stat man, or 007. He's the main man, but unfortunately, and quite rightly, he's celebrating Boxing Day with his family. So have a great day, Keith, and I'm sure we'll see you back for the Everton preview, no doubt. But what he has sent is some stats in. So we've played 53 games. We've won 7, drew 14, and lost 32. So that's not a good omen for Newcastle United, with our win ratio being 13.2%. So that's not a good start. We've only won 3 of our last 17 games against Man United, but they've all been by the same score, which is 1-0. The famous win when Kabay won at Old Trafford. Our more recent one was the 1-0 when Matty Longstaff got his first Premier League goal at St James's.
Oh, thank God he's on loan. That man, he always scores against us. I don't know what it is about him. He just always scores against us. There's crap everywhere else, but then just against us is just.
He did the same in the return games. Obviously, he scored the winner at St James's Park.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think it might have been Boxing Day, actually. I think it was.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Period. And yeah, I remember driving back from my brother's house and seeing it pop up saying that Matty Longstaff had scored and put us 1-0 up. And, we were expecting him to go on to great things. Hasn't quite happened, but he is coming back off his loan from Aberdeen in January. But so he'll just miss this game. Only just. I knew you'd be happy about that. Eddie Howe's record as manager against Man United. He's played 10 games, won 2, drew 1, lost 7. So not the best record against Man United. Some other stats: Cristiano Ronaldo scored 7 Premier League goals against Newcastle, all coming in the last 4 league appearances that he's played against Newcastle. So I'm sure that spans over his 2.
Spans over the 2, yeah, because he scored 2 in the first game. And then obviously, then I think 2008, and he scored that free kick under the wall against Shea Given, weren't it?
Yeah, scored a hat-trick that game.
Yeah. So I think that probably spans into kind of them 2 periods for Ronaldo. Definitely, yeah.
No, great stuff. Great knowledge that. Newcastle have lost 21 Premier League games in 2021. I'm not shocked by that at all. And also dropped a league high 17 points from winning positions this season, which is crazy to think about. 17 points would have propelled us right up the table. But we tend to get in positions where we go 1-0 up. We did it against Liverpool. We've done it against other teams. So, I think Southampton and West Ham and Tottenham, and we've took the lead so many times and just threw it away. Watford was another one. So that's an interesting stat to remember. Man United has a strong record in the Premier League games on Boxing Day fixtures since 1992-93 season. Their record is played 29, won 23, drew 4, lost 2. So that doesn't help as Newcastle fans because
luckily this game is on the 27th. So
yeah, it's considered a Boxing Day type of fixture, but not.
Yeah, that's where I seen that stat today. Like in terms of our Boxing Day record, I'm thinking, I was like, it's pity this game wasn't played today. The fact it's a bank holiday Monday, the fact that it's the 27th, Monday Night Football, Carragher's there, the absolute arsehole. Like it's just all set up for him to put the kick up the Ronaldo's arse. You know what I mean? It's just one of them, But hopefully, for our sake, it's not one of them times.
We'll see. But yeah, interesting stats there. And look, finally, we'll kick off with some predictions. So, what do you think the outcome is going to be by 10 o'clock tomorrow evening?
I'll go 3-1 United. I think Newcastle will take the lead tomorrow. I think they will take the lead, but I think we'll get an equaliser from Ronaldo. I do think Sancho will get on the score sheet, and then off the bench to solidify the result, I'll go Edison Cavani off the bench.
Interesting, yeah, and that's the beauty of Man United. They've got some talented players to bring off if things aren't quite going well. Look, I'm going to be positive. I think this could be the catalyst of change at Newcastle and under the lights at St James's Park. I think there's a chance that we'll win. I don't think it's going to be easy. I think we could win this game 2-1. I think we could really exploit some of the areas that you guys have, particularly in defensive areas, fullbacks, and with Harry Maguire, who I think will start. And I think the fitness side of things, the fact that you've not played for a while, as the game goes on, we've looked stronger into the second half of games, and we've had moments where we've really kind of pushed teams, and particularly at St James's Park. So I think there'll be a little bit of that going into the game. So I'm going to go 2-1. I'm going to think that we've got a chance of winning this game and really sort of kicking ourselves into the new year in style, and boy, do we need it. So Chris, who would normally join us on the show, is joined in, probably half cooked. He's been out drinking with his mates and doing some Avon visits. Good to be missing this one, but I'm out on the air. Of course you are. Chris, always a pleasure, and we'll have you back very, very soon. I think that's about it, guys. Keen, a massive thanks for you joining us tonight. Really, really appreciate you taking time on Boxing Day to come and join us. As well as that, massive thanks to everyone in the chat. Like I say, it's your Boxing Day, but you've chosen to spend an hour and a quarter with us talking the big preview for tomorrow. So it's looking to be an interesting game. There's lots of moving parts here, and hopefully, fingers crossed from a Newcastle perspective, we get the win. But just before we go, Keane, you like to just share with us sort of your Twitters and your podcast?
Yeah, so you can catch me on my Twitter handle at United_Keen23. For any footballing, not just Man United, but any footballing related tweets on there. But also catch me on, for all Manchester United content, catch me on All for United. And for any sports related content such as WWE, MMA, basketball, stuff like that, you can catch me on the weekly Armchair Sports Talk.
Quality. I'm a big WWE fan myself and AEW, so I'll be definitely tuning in for that. But massive thanks you to coming on. As I said, we are back tomorrow, Match Day Live, starting from 7:30. Okay, so please look out on Twitter for that promotion. We will be back with the Fully Loaded Transfer Show. We've got another monstrous show. Massive thanks to Jordan. Jordan will be back, as well as other guests as well, talking everything Newcastle transfers. That will be coming out, so keep an eye on that. And also the away days, building towards the Everton game after our game tomorrow night against Man United. So plenty of loaded HQ content coming out. Massive thanks to everyone in the chat. Still lots of comments coming through. Chris thinks it's going to be 2-1. Cheers, Robert. Great show all round. Chris says take care. It was a flying visit from Chris. Massive thanks to you, Keane, from Jeff. Sorry about your loss. I think he's predicted a Newcastle United win.
Jeff, just for that, if we win tomorrow and you're in the comments in your post-match review tomorrow, I'll come over and say hello.
Well, he's made a promise, Jeff. Hopefully we don't see him because we've got the 3 points. But yeah, and I think that's a nice way to finish it off from Gary Howay, the lad. So, guys, massive thanks. You all take care. Have a fantastic rest of the Boxing Day. And Keane, we will speak to you soon. Thank you, as always. It's away days. We do love playing away. Take care.